It is late at night, winter, 1922. You are sitting alone in a friary that feels more like a fortress of stone and silence than a home. The doors are bolted shut. The windows are latched. You are completely, utterly alone. And then you look up. Sitting next to the fireplace, staring into the dying embers, is a man. You don't know him. He is wearing an old-fashioned cloak, wrapped tight against a cold that seems to come from somewhere else. He shouldn't be there. Physically, it is impossible for him to be there. For most people, this is the beginning of a horror story. For the humble Capuchin friar we know as Padre Pio, this was just a Tuesday. This wasn't a hallucination. It wasn't a dream. This was a visitor from the realm of the suffering. And what this visitor told him, and what Padre Pio saw in the years that followed, shatters everything we think we know about death. It reveals a terrifying, beautiful secret, that your voice, right now, might be the only thing keeping a soul from drowning in despair. The man sitting by the fire wasn't a demon. He looked tired. He looked infinitely weary. Padre Pio, a man who would later bear the bleeding wounds of Christ for 50 years, was terrified. He later admitted that his blood ran cold. He looked at the stranger and managed to ask, "Who are you? What do you want?" The old man turned. His eyes were heavy with a sadness that the living can't quite comprehend. He said, "I am Pietro di Mauro, the son of Nicola." He didn't speak in riddles. He gave facts. He explained that back in September of 1908, this building hadn't been a friary. It was a hospice for the poor. And on that specific date, he had been sleeping in this very room, then known as cell number 4. He had fallen asleep with a lit cigar in his hand. The mattress caught fire. He woke up suffocating, wrapped in smoke and flames, and died right there, in that spot. Then came the plea that changes everything. He looked at the young priest and said, "I am still in purgatory. I need a holy mass to be freed. God has permitted me to come and ask you for help." Let that sink in. A soul, suspended in a state of purifying fire for 14 years, was allowed to breach the barrier of death for one specific reason: to ask for a prayer. He didn't ask for money. He didn't ask to send a message to his wife. He asked for the specific, supernatural power of the Mass. Padre Pio didn't hesitate. He looked at this suffering shade and promised, "Rest assured that tomorrow I will celebrate Mass for your liberation." Then, instinct took over. Padre Pio stood up to walk his guest to the door, like any polite host. He walked him to the heavy wooden entrance, unbolted the lock, and opened it. The old man stepped out into the night and simply dissolved into the darkness. It was only then that the adrenaline crashed. Padre Pio realized he had just held a conversation with a dead man behind a locked door. This wasn't just a ghost story to scare the novices. It was verifiable. The next morning, after celebrating that promised Mass, Padre Pio went to the town hall. He pulled the dusty registry of deaths for the year 1908. He ran his finger down the list until he stopped. There it was, September 18th, 1908. Pietro di Mauro died in a fire. The records matched the vision perfectly. But this story is just the tip of the iceberg. It serves as the opening chapter to a much deeper mystery that Padre Pio spent his life unraveling: the reality of purgatory. To understand what Pio saw, we have to strip away the cartoons. Purgatory isn't a waiting room with bad magazines. It isn't a light version of hell. The Church teaches, and Padre Pio witnessed, that it is a place of burning love. Imagine you have been working in a coal mine your entire life. You are covered in soot, grime, and dust. Suddenly, you are invited into the pristine, blindingly white throne room of a king. You wouldn't want to go in yet. You would feel the shame of your own filth. You would burn with the desire to be clean first. That burning? That is purgatory. It is the pain of wanting God so bad it hurts, but knowing you aren't ready to hug him yet. Padre Pio once said something that chills the blood. When asked about the suffering of these souls, he reportedly said that if you compared the fires of purgatory to the fires of this earth, earthly fire is like fresh water. That is how intense the purification is. But here is the paradox. It is a suffering born of hope. These souls know they are saved. They know they are going home. They are just waiting for the door to open. And this is where you come in. This is where the story shifts from history to immediate urgency. Padre Pio saw that the wall between us and them is paper thin. He called us the church militant, the fighters on earth, and them the church suffering. We are on the same team, and we have the supplies they need. The visitor, Pietro, asked specifically for a mass. Why? Because the Mass isn't just a ceremony, it is a time machine. It transports the sacrifice of Jesus on the cross, that infinite moment of love, to the present day. When a priest offers a Mass for a soul, he is taking a drop of Christ's blood and applying it directly to the burns of that suffering spirit. It is the ultimate relief. Padre Pio knew this viscerally. He once told his fellow friars, "More souls of the dead from purgatory than of the living climb this mountain to attend my masses." Imagine looking out at a church. You see faces, old and young. But Padre Pio saw the aisles packed with the invisible dead, crowding the altar, begging for a crumb of grace. There is a terrifying story about a fellow friar who had passed away. This friar had been lazy, negligent in his duties. His soul appeared to Padre Pio in flames, shouting, "You decide how much longer I have to suffer." Padre Pio, knowing the immense value of the liturgy, replied, "Until the Mass in the morning." The soul screamed, "Cruel," and vanished. Padre Pio was devastated. He realized that for a soul in that state, even a few hours feels like an eternity of agony. It haunted him. It drove him to offer every second of his own suffering for them. But you don't have to be a mystic to help. You don't need to see ghosts. You just need to understand the economy of heaven. It is a transaction of love. Padre Pio taught that everything you do can be currency for the dead. Did you have a headache today? Did you get stuck in traffic? Did someone insult you? If you take that frustration, that tiny moment of pain, and say, "Lord, I offer this for the holy souls," it becomes a cooling stream of water in purgatory. You turn your annoyance into their relief. It is alchemy. And the most beautiful part? They pay you back. The Catechism teaches that while they can't help themselves, they can pray for us. It is a relationship. You pray for their release. They pray for your protection. Padre Pio reportedly said that the souls in purgatory pray for us with an efficacy that we can't even imagine, because they pray through their suffering. There is a comforting mystery here about time, too. People would come to Padre Pio weeping, asking about relatives who had died years ago, or even ancestors who died centuries prior. They would ask, "Is it too late to pray?" And Padre Pio would remind them of something that breaks your brain. God lives outside of time. There is no past for God. Everything is an eternal now. A prayer you say today, in 2024, can be applied by God to the moment of your grandfather's death in 1995. You can literally reach back into the past and comfort someone on their deathbed. One famous story involves a woman whose husband committed suicide by jumping off a bridge. In Catholic theology at the time, this was often seen as a one-way ticket to damnation. The woman was inconsolable. She went to Padre Pio, expecting the worst. Instead, the saint looked at her and said, "He is saved." Between the bridge and the river, he repented. In that split second of falling, God's mercy found a way. And perhaps it was the prayers of his wife, offered years later, that obtained that final grace in his last second. So what do we do with this? We are left with a responsibility. If you believe this, if you believe that the dead are not gone, but merely waiting, then silence is not an option. Ignoring them is a tragedy. Think of someone you have lost. Say their name in your head right now. They might be waiting for you. They might be waiting for your voice to offer the prayer that finally unlocks the gate. Here is the challenge. It is simple, but it is heavy. For the next 7 days, do not let a day pass without sending a signal to the other side. Offer a small sacrifice. Skip the sugar in your coffee. Bite your tongue when you want to yell. And offer it for them. Or simply say the prayer that has comforted millions. Eternal rest grant unto them, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon them. Padre Pio saw the invisible world. He saw the fire, and he saw the glory. But most of all, he saw that love is the only thing that can bridge the gap between the two. The door is locked to the eyes of the body, but to the eyes of faith, it is wide open. Walk through it. Your loved ones are waiting.